Wonderful. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is the second of our Fall 2021 group advising sessions by the Pre-Medical and Pre-Dental Advising Center. So this session is really intended to be an orientation for anyone new to a pre-med or pre-dent track at UConn and new students or transfer students, really open to all. So we're just happy to have you joining us. I know it's midterm season right now. So I hope you're all doing well and taking care of yourselves. Before we begin, we do have to share our very important office pet policy. So unfortunately, we are on a day when myself and some of my colleagues are working from the office, so we may not have many pet sightings. However, normally let it be known that if a pet does enter the camera frame, we will pause and talk about the pet and introduce them, and everyone will smile and be happy. So Heather, maybe if your dogs drop in, let me know, please, because I can't see videos too much right now. But yes, these are some of the amazing pets of our staff. Also, Erin, before introducing yourself, would you like to share a little bit about our office's commitment?
Absolutely. Our office, all of our advisors, our staff members are committed to supporting and uplifting all of our students, but recognizing the importance of Black and Brown lives and the systems of oppression that have impacted their pathways along the way, and recognizing that pre-medical and pre-dental and health fields have many groups who have been traditionally underrepresented. We are committed to supporting students from historically marginalized and underrepresented groups. We invite you into our office, and we hope you find we are a good source of support in all you're seeking to achieve.
Thank you so much. All right, and here's some basic contact information. So our website does have a wealth of information. We are constantly updating it, including very recently, in fact, and you can always email us though at premed_predental@uconn.edu. We also have a very active Instagram. So this is where we post different events and opportunities and just things to be aware of happening both on and off campus. We are mainly based on the fourth floor of the Rowe building on the Storrs campus, and 3 members of our staff are on campus on Mondays, Tuesdays, or Thursdays. So we have kind of a hybrid model going on at the moment, and we are happy to do either in-person advising appointments on those days or virtual advising appointments as well. So something we do like to orient you to right from the beginning is the fact that our office is part of the larger enrichment programs department. And so enrichment programs is really composed of 6 main subunits. We have the honors program, the individualized and interdisciplinary studies program, national scholarships, fellowships, our office, the Office of Pre-Professional Advising, which pre-medical and pre-dental alongside pre-law, the Office of Undergraduate Research, which many of you are probably familiar with if you're on a pre-med or pre-dent track, and then the University Scholar Program. So you can think of these units like kind of our sister units, and we are all under the general umbrella of enrichment programs. Just programs that are really designed to enhance, enrich your undergraduate experience. And I might add, these programs are open to all students, regardless of school, college, major, or campus. So please check them out and see if they have something to offer for you. Just one example of how you might enrich your undergraduate education through our department. This is Akshaya, a fairly recent graduate. She somehow managed to touch almost every unit in enrichment programs when she was here. So she was involved in honors through Holster. She designed an individualized major in health policy and social medicine, a very interdisciplinary plan of study. She participated in the health research program at the UConn Health Center. She won some very prestigious scholarships, fellowships, and has been accepted recently to UCLA Medical School. So this is just one example of how you can really make use of all the resources here at UConn. In terms of who our office is, these are the faces and names you will see most commonly associated with our office. So beginning with Erin, I think I'll have our advisors and our staff who is on the call today, let them introduce themselves in the order on the screen, please.
Hi, everybody. My name is Erin Saramboli. I'm the Director of University Advising and Pre-Professional Advising. Welcome to our office. We hope to see you in person or virtually over the coming years and work with you on your journey to health professions.
Thanks, Erin. Next, we have Dr. Abbott, who is the pre-dental advisor. You might know him through Biology 1107, which he is very passionate about biology as well. Emma is one of our staff advisors, and she is also a fairly recent UConn graduate too. Heather, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Heather Nunes. I'm one of the newer pre-med advisors on the team. I'm also working with alumni engagement initiatives, so excited to work with you all.
Wonderful. Paris is one of our staff advisors. She is fully remote, but she also offers some really convenient later in the evening advising hours and drop-in hours if that's something that's more convenient for you. Sue Ruggiero is, oh, I'm sorry. My name is Krista Rogers. I'm a staff advisor in the pre-medical pre-dental advising office. And Sue Ruggiero provides a lot of administrative support to our programs, especially our post-bac program. And she also threw a wildly successful law school fair yesterday, if you saw the signs around campus. And last but certainly not least, Dr. Sanford, would you like to introduce yourself?
So just wanted to welcome everybody. I've sort of been around this arena at the medical school and now here on the undergraduate campus for a number of years. So, happy to contribute whatever experience I have to helping each and every one of you. So welcome to everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Sanford. And this feels strange because three of us are currently sitting within easy walking distance of each other down the hall, but we're all calling in from our offices. Okay, now in terms of what our office does and some of our main programming, I just want to go over a few tiers of this programming to make sure you're aware of different opportunities. So these group advising sessions are offered generally once per month. We are doing them all virtually this year, and they're all recorded. The slides are all going to be stuck on our website as well, so you can always tune into these. If you just want to check back in or want a refresher on anything we talk about. After attending this session or watching the recording on our website, you are welcome to request a one-on-one advising appointment with an advisor from our office. So if you're on a pre-med track, you can do that through a form right on our website. I have the link here, so you can link to it from the slides afterwards. If you're pre-dent, you can actually schedule that yourself on Nexus directly with Dr. Abbott. So if you're not familiar, Nexus is a big scheduling tool used by many departments around the university. You just go to nexus.uconn.edu and you can find many advisors and choose a time for yourself. I would also like to, at this point, announce one of our newest initiatives. So we have an amazing group of peer advisors, peer ambassadors who are joining us, and their website profiles are almost ready to go up on the website, but I do believe we have two of them on the call with us right now. So if I could please ask Anthony and Giuliani to introduce themselves, just say a little bit, maybe your major, what year you are, and then any kind of word of greeting, please do so.
I can go first. Hi, my name is Giuliani. I am a junior physiology and neurobiology major here at UConn. What was the other thing? Just a quick little tidbit. I'm just glad that everybody's on this call. I hope that you guys get the most information you can out of these group advising sessions. The team you guys have providing these sessions for you guys are amazing and want to help you. So make sure to ask questions and anything like you want to know, and we're here to help you guys.
Going off with that, my name's Anthony. I'm also a physiology neurobiology major on the pre-med track. And just like Yuliani, I think that the pre-med office is a great resource for you guys to use in order to figure out your future careers and also to help you get to wherever you want to be in whatever med school, pre-dent. So I think that using them and also using us whenever we have office hours is a great resource for trying to figure out how to navigate this year because it's tough, So yeah.
Thank you so much. And yes, those office hours, drop-in one-on-one mentoring, they will be up shortly as well. Anthony, I just have to ask though, in this picture of you, were you able to finish that whole slice of cake? It's been
Oh
bothering
yes,
me.
I was. Oh yes, I was. It was so good too. Oh my gosh, it was amazing.
Excellent. Okay, I'll have to find out more details later. Okay, and I will ask both of you to chime in at certain points later if you don't mind just talking about your experiences. Okay, here's just a couple more shout outs for some of the different types of advising we are offering this semester. As I mentioned, Paris does offer evening hours, and she also does a lot of connections with the cultural centers on campus and other programs like SSS. So you are welcome to always drop into her WebEx room Monday through Thursday from 4 to 5 p.m. in general. And then she does have some hours slightly after that for the cultural centers. In addition, we are doing some drop-in hours this semester on Thursday afternoons. So this afternoon, for example, we had drop-in hours from 1 to 3, and it's been a pretty steady stream. But for these drop-in hours, you do not need to book an appointment in advance, but we do request that you keep your questions fairly brief and so that we can meet with a lot of students too. Okay, and one really important thing to do if you have not done so already is please get on our emailing list. So all you have to do for that is to email premed_predental@uconn.edu. Say, I would like to be added to the emailing list or listserv. We do send out a weekly newsletter, typically on Thursdays. So I believe one of our workers is actually preparing that as we speak right now. And it is loaded with all kinds of events and opportunities, student org spotlights, a lot of external places, including hospitals and labs, also advertise positions to us. And this is really our main way of distributing application cycle related information as well. So it's really, really important that you get on that just so that we can stay in touch about things coming up and important deadlines and so on. Also, just want to put it on your radar that our office does offer an annual MCAT review course every spring semester. It is only in the spring, and so it's typically spread over 10 to 11 weeks and meets for about 4 hours on Saturday mornings. So this is just one other great avenue opportunity for you if you would like a little additional preparation or, just something to actually force you to sit down on a regular basis and prepare a little bit. Lastly, we do also have a post-bac program here at UConn that is run through the UConn Graduate School. And so this is a really unique program. It has 2 tracks to it. So it's intended for really 2 types of applicants. Either those who maybe decided a bit later in their undergraduate journeys that they wanted to pursue a pre-medical or pre-dental track, and so they need to finish taking their entrance requirements for the schools, and or those who want to enhance their undergraduate GPAs a bit before applying by either retaking certain courses or supplementing with a lot of upper division courses. And so it is a very rigorous program, but we've had much success with this. And Dr. Sanford, as kind of the leader director of this, would you like to say a few words about that too? Just to put it on people's radar.
Yeah, sure. People come to their career decisions certainly at different times in their lives. And as undergrads, the main thing to be thinking about is pursuing, disciplines of interest to you. There are other pathways that exist that get you a bit more focused on the sciences if you haven't done those as an undergraduate, moving on. And, when you enter professional school, you enter a pretty unique tapestry of people who've got interests and training in a lot of different fields and at really different times in their lives. And it's really such a joy and pleasure to go through a graduate training experience like that with all these people with all these different interests. So again, it's a good time as an undergrad to think about the things you're most excited about, most interested in, and focus on those. And, if that does not necessarily include, all the basic prerequisites and sciences you need, you can certainly pick it up at other times. So we started this program about 20 years ago. I was housed at the medical school for many years and, shifted it up here because it made sense just because students do all their work up here at the main campus. the goals, as Krista expressed, were really to provide some unique opportunities to people who pursued other fields as part of their early college experience. We did have a specific commitment to provide, opportunities to more diverse group of candidates and to build the applicant pool, for the School of Medicine, and to provide an opportunity for those that maybe had to, strengthen a little bit their candidacies through some other upper division work. So we every year have a great pool of really committed, very excited people, ranging anywhere from what might be 21 years old. Oldest student we've admitted to the post-bac program over the years was 40. I just got an inquiry from somebody that we actually admitted to the medical school years ago, and she decided to go a different route with her career, more towards scientific research that brought her, to many countries and, has quite an illustrious career. But she's decided now that her kind of kids are moving out of the house and shaping their own lives, that she really wants to come back to medical school. So, we're thinking about giving her a kind of preparation for a year as schools would want to see some more recent academic work, in addition to what she's done so far. So it's a really interesting, program, and we've had some really terrific people.
Thank you. And I think this just ties in really importantly with one of our core messages about you should take the time you need to take on your pre-medical or pre-dental journey, because there's plenty of opportunities even after you graduate to continue building your candidacy in different areas. So we'll come back to some key takeaways at the end of this. In terms of specific programming for this semester, I do want to highlight two kind of tiers of programming. So the first we're calling our Husky Health Foundations workshops. They are held on Tuesdays from 2 to 3 p.m. So we have already held our co-curricular engagement, and this workshop dived pretty deeply into different areas that you'll want to cultivate as a pre-health professional student, things such as gaining clinical experience, service, research, and just extracurriculars that you're passionate about. So you can absolutely check out that recording on our website as well by going to the events tab on the website. Our upcoming one is going to be on October 19th, and that's going to focus on competencies, motivation, leadership, really understanding your values as a person and applicant. And this can be really critical for eventually articulating your motivation for medicine, dental medicine. Okay, and then our final one, exploring health professions as well. In addition, our other tier of programming is called Chat with Alumni. This is a series we started up last year, and so we have our 3 loosely themed sessions coming up. Actually, we already did our first one about first-gen college students and/or first-gen in healthcare. And the one coming up next is going to be about growth years. So we will have 2 medical students and then 1 dental student on the call who all did various things in the time between graduating from undergrad and matriculating to health professional school. And you can hear more about their journeys through that. Our final event will be focused on MD PhD routes. And I believe we did just get a DO PhD to join the event as well. These are just some examples of our past workshops. So one from Chat with Alumni, and then one of our application cycle focus workshops, which we hold in the spring and summer. This one geared towards interviewing, and a couple alumni panels on that as well. All right, so at this point, today, our goal for today is to really introduce holistic admissions and some different areas that you'll want to cultivate, be aware of as a pre-health professional student. We will dive into academics as part of that, but we're not going to go too much in depth with things like clinical experience. So you can please check out the other workshop for that. So on the screen here, we have 2 official definitions of holistic admissions. And so basically, this is talking about the professional schools viewing you as a whole person and taking all of your different background experiences and preparation into account. So that means everything from academic metrics to those experiential components, to how you demonstrate competency areas, your personal attributes. They're going to view you out from a 360-degree angle. And so I was just wondering, Dr. Sanford, would you like to add anything from your previous admissions perspective about the importance of holistic admissions?
Sure. One of the myths out there in the universe is that you can only get in and if you have a perfect academic record. Indeed, schools and really strong test scores. Every year, we certainly see cases where students do okay, not spectacular on some of these metric areas, but they have exceptional strengths in some of the other areas that you see listed there. So indeed, admissions committees, end up dialoguing about just the successes candidates have had and the various things that were most important to them as they moved on. You do have to demonstrate a readiness academically to pursue that next level of coursework you're going to do in medical school, and certainly have a strong interest in continuing to develop your education over your lifetime in medicine. But every year we see candidates that you'd think would be easy admits with really high grades and really high MCATs, but sometimes you find they're not admitted because they really haven't explored their interest in a lot of depth and detail, and they perhaps have not investigated the career sufficiently enough to be convinced this is what they're going to be fulfilled in doing and in giving to others. Maybe a candidate just doesn't present the sort of attributes the schools really emphasize in terms of the competencies, and really need to delve more into service activities to show a level of interest and commitment that the schools are expecting. One phrase I always use is schools are looking for interesting people. So, don't sell yourself short. Follow your interests, follow your passions. They're just as interested in what stands out as unique about you and what you would add to their particular collegiate culture at the schools and eventually as physicians. So it's just a really key point, and we just want to dismiss that myth that everything is done by metrics. It certainly is not, and schools really do take a very holistic look at the entire candidate.
Thank you. You will indeed see that quote on a later slide as well. So along similar lines, we also want to dispel this myth that you have to major in a science area, a STEM area, in order to be pre-med or pre-dent. That is absolutely not true. You will need to take the entrance requirements for medical or dental school and demonstrate competency and strength in those as evidence that you're going to be able to handle a rigorous biomedical sciences curriculum. However, we have had pre-meds and pre-dents of various majors be wildly successful in their applications. Just two examples I always like to bring up are in 2018, our matriculant to Stanford School of Medicine. She was an English major. I think that's fantastic. A couple years ago, the president of the Pre-Dental Society at UConn was a history major. And so they were able to talk about a real breadth to their coursework and some different skills and competencies that they developed through those unique academic pathways that really stand out as well. So this is where, if you were to major in something and minor in a different area, something that's very different, that could be one way to demonstrate and explore some of these interests. This ties in nicely to those three next words you see on the screen about breadth, depth, and rigor. So we talk about an admissions committee when they evaluate or look at someone's coursework as a whole, they're really focusing on these three big factors. So breadth, that means, are you a well-rounded student? Have you taken courses and coursework in multiple academic disciplines? You're not just pigeonholed into one area, but you've really explored. And some of you might do this through, significant gen eds. Others, maybe it is through like a double major or a minor in vastly different areas. So there's a lot of ways you can build breadth into your plan of study. Depth, the next one. So that means you're not just taking all intro level courses, but you're really digging deep into the content. You're taking lots of upper division courses and or maybe sequences that build on each other. So just as an example, maybe you're a first year student right now, you're taking Gen Psych 1, you're really enjoying it. You decide, hey, next semester, I'm going to add on Gen Psych 2 to my schedule just because it's really interesting. Okay, so you're building on that depth already. And then maybe after that, you decide, hey, I want to keep this up and it's a really good balance with my major. So maybe I'll minor in psychological sciences. That's just one example though. Rigor. So in terms of rigor, perhaps given the option between two similar courses, you elect to challenge yourself and take the slightly more rigorous version. And so many examples of this, perhaps it could be you're in the honors program and your coursework already has that added level of rigor to it. Perhaps you elect to take the enhanced sequence of something versus the regular sequence. I'm thinking if you're a P&B major, anatomy, physiology is a go-to. Perhaps for physics, you elect to take physics with calculus versus physics with algebra, just to add on that rigor. And again, this demonstrates to the schools that you can handle a rigorous curriculum. You are going to be successful in medical or dental school. So at this point, I am just going to pull up on our website. This is a chart you can find right on our website if you go to the Prepare tab and then Course Requirements. You can also read a lot more about breadth, depth, and rigor under the tabs here. And this chart right here is our recommendations for being a really well-rounded applicant, no matter which medical dental school you're applying to. So the schools these days, they do have their individual policies and entrance requirements. Some of them are very specific. They say, we want you to take X number of semesters of this and X number of that. Others have taken more of a competency-based approach, and they say, we want you to take courses in this area, build this competency, but we're not going to dictate exactly what those courses need to be. So keeping all of those things in mind, we've come up with this list of UConn courses as making a really well-prepared applicant virtually everywhere. So we do like to play it a little safe rather than sorry. Dr. Sanford, would you like to just go through the chart in general and talk a bit about sequencing perhaps?
Sure. So the basics necessary for professional studies in medicine and dentistry over the decades have been a year of calculus, a year of general biology, a year of general chemistry, a year of organic chemistry, a year of physics. And for many decades, that was sort of the basic elements of pre-med pathway, a pre-med track. There are in a lot of that is still pretty much in place these days. Schools don't stress calculus as much these days, so you will find some that still look for a year of calculus. There are many others where it is not even listed as a prerequisite. It's generally a good idea to take a class in calculus and to present a candidacy that shows good, strong quantitative strengths in those subjects that require that, like math and chemistry and others. The basic biology year, 1107, 1108, is standard for most health professional areas. There are some majors where in the sciences that they don't necessarily stress that you go on to do 1108. They want you to go on to do more in-depth cell and molecular biology. It's a good idea to think about incorporating both of those in your program if you can for the general biology year. There are some nuances there where you can, do some substitutions for some schools. Chemistry is sort of basic across all of them. You need to do that general chemistry year. And as Krista indicated, there are some different levels, 1127, 1128, most people take, and there's 37, 38, 47, 48. You can also do the three sequence of general chemistry as well. That's 124, 25, and 26. Organic, we typically advise our pre-meds heading toward medicine and dentistry to do the three course sequence, 3 credits each. Organic Chem 1, 2, and then the lab is the third, 2, 4, 4, 5. So there's 9 credits there. You know, what most schools do is teach 2 semesters of organic where you have the lab connected with each lecture section. But in Connecticut's history, they devised this scheme, that applies to all the different majors of doing these 3 classes to meet the organic chemistry requirements. There is a baby sort of abridged version of organic chemistry that's 2441, and the lab of that is 2442, which is, generally fine for nursing, fine for PA, fine for a number of other health professional schools, but in our mind still doesn't have sort of quite the level of rigor that the schools are expecting to see. When you do look at websites of the medical schools, you'll often find that they indicate that they require 1 semester of organic with lab and 1 semester of biochemistry. But again, we're in a bit of a unique circumstance here in the way organic chemistry is taught. And so we still value the more rigorous 3-course track for students going into medicine or dental medicine. Biochemistry's emerged as a prerequisite at most every school these days. You typically do not take a formal class in biochemistry in professional school anymore. It's expected that you bring in the background for that as you begin your first year of study in professional school. You'll find some schools don't necessarily list it, but you're in your early month or 2 in school tends to be pretty challenging if you haven't had it. So it's good to build in, and we put that MCB 2000 in there as the sort of basic course. Physics, they do want to see a full year at most schools. You can either do the algebra-based physics or the calculus-based physics. So, that's ordinarily a class that's done third year for many sort of PMB majors, MCB majors. For engineering majors, that's generally their physics is a 2nd year sequence. As you move on, math and statistics, again, schools have backed off having a lot of calculus, but still a good idea to take 1 semester at least, and then take some statistics too. Schools seem to be a lot more interested in the statistics background and being able to, read medical journals and articles critically and appreciate all the stats presented in those. Strongly recommended from our standpoint are these MCB classes in addition. So students ordinarily just absolutely love genetics. Cell biology gives you a much deeper appreciation and builds a lot on the basic general biology class. Microbiology at many schools, again, is highly recommended. So if you have the opportunity in whatever major you choose to incorporate these, you don't necessarily have to do them all, but you would probably want to include at least a couple of upper division of bios as part of your game plan. And the MCAT, of course, changed back 2015 to incorporate, foundations of psychology and behavioral and social activities in medicine. So most schools are recommending you do a class in introductory sociology as well as psych. And there is a tested a segment of the MCAT that's equal in number to the number of questions you get for biological and biochemical foundations, as well as chemical and physical foundations. So it's emerged importantly as a significant part of your preparation and courses you should look to incorporate. So again, as Krista mentioned, there are some options to do a bit more rigorous selections. Schools do accept some sort of alternatives often to some of the basics here, but you just need to be cautious and careful to make sure you're completing everything that's going to be required eventually to the schools that you apply. So hope that's enough, Krista.
Thank you. I would just add too that, there are some similar courses that may be more appropriate in certain circumstances. So for example, if we have any engineering majors tuning in, there is actually a 1-credit organic chemistry lab. It's 2446, which is offered in the spring, and that should be perfectly fine for you to take. Oh my goodness, Heather, wait, I see a dog. Might I stop for 1 second?
Yep, this is Lenny. He's really excited about coursework.
Thank you, Lenny. Thank you, Lenny. I hope you're ready to take Orgo Lab. And then other things like there's actually a 5-credit biochemistry course that's MCB 3010. So that's a more rigorous option as well. And it just delves much more deeply into the research elements and the lab portion and so on. So if you have any concerns or want to discuss specific courses with us, that could be a very good reason to make a one-on-one appointment. In addition, on this page on our website, we do have a link to the MSAR reports. This is a tool that we talk about with our current cycle applicants, but you can access it anytime, and it does give an overview for every MD program in the country and what their requirements are or whether something's recommended and so on. In addition, we do have a sample course timeline up here. We want to stress that this is just a sample. This is not you have to absolutely do it this way, but just in terms of general sequencing, it is probably the best idea to focus on Intro to Bio, Gen Chem, as soon as you're able to. And then especially with chemistry, that then allows you to keep moving with organic chemistry and eventually biochemistry. Okay, so you can certainly check this out as well. At this point, I would like to ask if either Anthony or Giuliani want to chime in, maybe just saying currently where you are in your pre-medical entrance requirements and or any courses, any required courses that you're particularly enjoying, you think are challenging, and or just any other courses in general that you're really enjoying this semester.
I can chime in really quickly. So like I said, I am a PMB major, first semester of my junior year. So my advisor has kind of encouraged me to my PMB advisor at least, to follow kind of that timeline that you guys saw there. So I did my Bio 1107, Bio 1108 freshman year. I did English 1010. I did my Orgos last year. So I did 2443, 2444. What I did a little differently though, because I'm not a math person and my advisor's kind of like, that's what you gotta figure out what's good for you. I was like, can I take calculus junior year? So we kind of worked my schedule. So now I'm doing calculus. I did my Orgos and I'm also doing microbiology. So I'm doing MCB 2610 and I love it. I did not think I was gonna love like learning about like the nitty gritty, leeches and things like that, but it's honestly pretty interesting and I do enjoy the lab section. I took Psych 1100, Psych 1101 my freshman year. So a lot of these things that are kind of there, like I followed that same timeline, and I am a PMB major, so I did do my PMB 2274 and then 2275. So, I'm getting there in these electives and stuff, and now I'm just gonna move into my upper level STEM courses next year and next semester and things like that. Personally, for me, in regards to difficulty, Bio 1107 came off kind of strong just because I feel like I came from high school and I wasn't really prepared. So it was kind of an intense course to take at first, but I got used to it. And if there's any freshmen here or anybody that is taking Bio 1107 right now, it's like, it's doable. Like it really is doable and you can get through it. In regards to any of the other classes that I kind of took, the next class that was kind of challenging for me was anatomy. But I took the enhanced ones, which was 2274 and 2275. It was pretty rigorous for me, but also got through it. And now I'm in physics, which is my little class that's been a little difficult for me. So, but I'm getting through it. Like that's all that matters, and I like it. So that's kind of just my spiel on my classes and stuff.
Yeah, so going off of that, I took a lot of the same courses that Giuliani did, because we're both physiology and neurobiology majors. I also took genetics and cell bio, CB 2410, and then 2210. Those classes were really interesting for me just because like coming into college, I thought they were like really interesting in terms of like the information they give, especially cell bio. I learned a lot of interesting things from that class because it takes from knowledge that you learn in like regular biology and then applies it to like more in-depth mechanics of how like cells work, their inner workings and like the nucleus and everything like that, which was really nice for me. Um, I think right now I'm taking biochem, so MCB 2000, and that class is probably one of the more challenging, like uh, pre-med pre-dent like classes that you will probably have to take, just because of the amount of information that you have to learn, not only memorization but like application based. I think that the enhanced class of anatomy really like supported like giving application in terms of like thinking how you can apply like certain biological concepts to certain situations. So that helped me a lot in doing this class. But I would strongly suggest like just, you know, preparing and also just like making sure that you have like a set routine for how you study for all of your classes, because I think that's really important in terms of doing the best that you can and getting the right amount of time that's right for you in order to do well in all your classes. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing some of your insights. And I'm sure some peers will be reaching out to you in the near future too, to discuss classes and study strategies and so on. Just one more note I think we had was about AP credit. And so if you do go on the same website page, you'll notice there is a tab for AP credit. And so if you are a student who brought a lot of AP credit in, that's often a conversation we might want to have one-on-one with you just to take into account your situation and how much you're bringing in and what subjects they were, because the medical and dental schools can get a little bit finicky about this. Most of them will accept some degree of AP coursework, but they might want you to supplement that with at least one more course taken on the UConn campus. This is especially important for the UConn School of Medicine, so please do check out. We have some written guidance on our website about that as well, because basically they expect an equivalent number of semesters taken at UConn in whatever subject area for the same amount of semesters you're accepting in that academic discipline through AP credit. So if you have any concerns or doubts, please just connect with our office and we can touch base with you. At this point, I do see a question in the chat. Thank you. And I do invite everyone, if you do have some questions, please drop them in the chat now. So someone's asking, I noticed P&B isn't a required course. This is correct. As ironic, as interesting as this sounds, human anatomy physiology is not a formal entrance requirement for medical or dental school. It is for some of the other health professions. For example, physician assistant, PA programs will require a year of that, but it is not for medical or dental school. And so certainly if you take it though, because it's a major requirement or just out of intrinsic interest, it will certainly give you a great foundation for moving into that in medical dental school, as well as there is a bit of physiology on the MCAT, for example. Are there specific pre-PA advisors? Nope, we don't have a specific advisor. We are all happy to chat with you about pre-PA requirements. In terms of coursework and obtaining direct patient care experience, which is typically significantly more than if you're on a pre-med track. I would also draw your attention to the Allied Health Sciences Advising Center on campus. They are based in Coons Hall. They also work with a lot of pre-PA students, but you are welcome in either space. In regards to the math credit, I've had some people tell me they're taking only one semester and leaving it at that. Would you recommend that? So we would probably recommend at a minimum you take one semester of calculus, so 1131Q, plus one semester of statistics. A lot of the medical schools, including even the top, Ivy schools, they have an either or policy. So if they require some kind of math at all, like if it's a formal requirement, they will accept either 2 semesters of calc or 1 semester calc, 1 semester stat. Dr. Sanford, anyone else, would you like to chime in?
Yeah, Amy, I guess posed the question. Yeah, if you're in a discipline that requires a year of calculus, of course, you're going to have to take the 2 semesters anyway. to get your undergraduate degree. So that's the only sort of thing to add first. So you start there. If you're not in a program that requires that full year, then would ditto what Krista just said. A semester at least of calc and a semester of bio or statistics.
Thank you. And yes, thank you for bringing that point up too. So we have a question about ECE credits. Thank you for raising this too. In general, ECE or Early College Experience, this is a program that many high schools in Connecticut offer where you can earn UConn credit. In general, ECE credit is actually safer than AP credit because it is a college course. You use the same curriculum, the same textbook. Your instructors are specially trained. So for the most part, we would say, yes, you're good. And just be aware if you're accepting the credit for those courses, your grade will be factored into your undergraduate GPA. And so one other thing too, we have determined with the UConn School of Medicine that yes, ECE credits are safe to count for UConn School of Medicine entrance requirements. Question, I took Calc 1 and Calc 2 and I'm taking Calc 2 this semester. Do you think I should take stats as well or just leave it at those? Dr. Sanford?
I would recommend that you try to take a stats class, yes.
Yeah, it will come in handy on a lot of the MCAT actually, a couple sections, and it's just really helpful for the first year of med school and some concepts.
You do get a terrific class in biostatistics in medical school, in professional school, and that would be a good preparation for going into that class.
Got it. Just jumping one down for a sec. So adding on to a previous question, do some med schools require linear algebra? I have never seen one.
The only thing I would add there, Krista, is that there's some new schools that really try to target technological innovation as part of their mission. And they really sort of go after biomedical engineering kind of preparations. And in that area, you do multivariate as well as linear. So if your skill set is directed in that way and you're interested in those types of medical schools, then it would probably be a good idea, to follow through with that.
Thank you. And then lastly, I see if you're still deciding between pre-PA, pre-med, is it possible to get overlapping courses done together? So for the large part, a lot of the coursework requirements are the same, actually. A few key differences being for pre-PAs, you would need formally that year of human anatomy physiology. Oftentimes vice versa, for pre-med, you're going to need that year of physics. That's not always a pre-PA requirement. For pre-PAs, we do recommend some additional psychology, for example, and maybe some more MCB. So these are the kinds of things, though, that we can chat with you about at a one-on-one appointment. Someone who took AP Stat in high school, would it be helpful to take again? It could be, or you could elect to, build some depth onto your plan of study by, if you have the prereq for it in the system, taking Biostat or something else at UConn.
Yeah, I would say the next class in stats really deals a lot more with a careful experimental design. And that would add something in addition that you don't have with the sort of basic, stats that you get for AP. So there would be some value to that. Yeah, and schools, and so they don't necessarily require a research, a research commitment, but indeed, if you're applying to programs in schools where their reputation is very deeply in their research reputation, it's something that they're certainly going to be valuing and looking at.
Okay, I'm going to take one more question for now. Would taking genetics, animal physiology, and organic chemistry 2 together be a feasible idea? So that is pretty STEM heavy. We would generally recommend maximizing or just taking a maximum of 2 labs at the same time. Try not to go above that. I think it's going to depend on you as a person and whether you enjoy these types of courses. So that's probably something we can chat about one-on-one.
I would just add general rule of thumb, start with 2 heavy classes. If you're going gangbusters with that, it's certainly fine to add a third. Students love genetics, and it's very accessible. Folks do struggle a bit more with sort of organics in general, and you'll love animal physiology as well. So we often see people with 3 sciences, and 2 of the 3 at least very rigorous.
Yep. I'm going to keep moving for just really quickly because I think one of our peer ambassadors has to hop off soon. So just saying a few words about co-curricular engagement, I actually wanted to open it up to you two. Before we even introduce some of these different areas, could you share a little bit, please, about how you're involved in both the Yukon community and then maybe some other things like either service or gaining clinical experience research?
I can start this one off. So yeah, on campus, there are a lot of opportunities, especially for pre-med folks. Obviously, there are other areas that you can explore. I currently do an Indian dance team that I'm a part of, and that's really fun for me. In terms of more pre-med and like STEM related things, I'm part of Pre-Med Society. I'm also part of Medical Minds Matter, where we talk about the mental health stigma in the medical community and how we can essentially end that stigma and get more people to talk about a lot of their stresses in both the pre-med, med school, and also like medical professionals. In terms of like service and volunteering, I've had a lot of opportunities to volunteer through different like school programs. So I volunteer with Mansfield Middle School, where I'm able to like kind of talk to like little kids and just like help them with their homework and then just like play fun games with them. So it's a really good time. I think finding activities like those that you enjoy, like kids aren't for everybody. Not everybody likes like working with kids. So I think finding out like what like specific population you want to make a difference in, like that really helps set the kind of field that you want to do service in. In terms of like clinical experience, I've had like a few times that you just have to reach out to like certain doctors in order to kind of get that experience firsthand. And also just like knowing like your like childhood like physician, reaching out to them is always a good like start for like shadowing and stuff like that. And then they can give you more resources in terms of getting you to more um, higher up like doctors and specialties that you might be more interested in. So yeah.
I'll chime in really quickly and I'll go like through the bullets. So in regards to like clinical experience, like it's been so difficult just because of like the realm that we're in and COVID and stuff to kind of be in the hospital. But last year, so January, I did like school online. So I went back home. I'm from Massachusetts. So there I applied to like a hospital to work as a medical assistant and I actually got a job and that's what I did from January. I worked part-time because we had school, and then once school ended in May, I worked full-time in the office. So that was a very like different experience. So the doctor that I was constantly with, she was an internal medicine, and she dealt with like elderly, so geriatrics, and I worked there handling the office, like taking patient vitals. So it was a very cool experience. And within the same office, there were other doctors there that on certain days I can go and kind of observe of what they were doing. So that was a really cool experience. In regards to service, I think in high school, service is kind of like instilled into you, like, oh, you need service, you need service, you need service. So in high school, like I just kind of was a part of a lot of things, and I just had that same motivation in me when I came to college. So I wanted to be involved as many initiatives as I could, and kind of dipping into extracurriculars. I joined a sorority, so through my sorority, we have to like meet certain service hours and things like that, and then just help out, like Anthony was saying, in like middle schools and high schools, and like having book drives and things like that. So I'm always doing something in regards to service because of that. When it comes to research, I did a couple internships. I think like my senior year of high school and even my freshman year at UConn, I worked with a microbiology research professor. So that's how like I've gotten some research. Um, research, I feel like it's just so critical. And like I've said, I've found that I've been so interested in like, it was microbiology research again, like with shrimp and things like that, that I wouldn't have thought I was particularly interested in, but it has helped me develop other skills. And I feel like I kind of touched on everything basically, but yeah, I've loved to just be involved on campus and things like that. It's definitely helped um, alleviate, because you meet people, and it does allow for you to create connections and stuff. So it's been a good time.
Thank you both so much for sharing. And I think some of the core messages here are that you can hear about the various ways, the various outlets that they're involved in. There's no one thing that you have to be involved in, but you should do something that you're passionate about. Also, I really like something Giuliani just said at the end about how she developed some skills through this experience. And that's something you're going to hear a lot from our office when we talk about core competency areas, especially when it's time to apply. So regardless of what you're doing and whether it's medically related or not, you can always tie those activities back to these core competencies, areas of personal strengths, personal attributes, as well as expertise, skills that are still critical for a healthcare professional to have. All right. I did see that we have a guest appearance by our advisor, Paris, who is a school counselor by day, pre-med advisor by night. Paris, would you like to introduce yourself briefly?
I love the introduction. Makes me feel like a superhero. My name is Paris Pruitt. I am one of the pre-med advisors here at UConn. I have a background in biology, and as Krista said, I'm a school counselor by day, but I'm really here to help. I have drop-in hours from 4 to 5, and then 5 to 6 for underrepresented students. For 5 to 6, and I'm always here to help. So if you all have any questions, comments, concerns, meet me Monday through Thursday at on WebEx from 4 to 5. Thank you.
We did give them a big shout out. Do you want to say how you were involved though when you were a student at UConn?
Love to. So MAPS, I helped establish what the Minority Association for Pre-Med Students is now, and I love that it's thriving. Like Krista said, I was a pre-med student, and then, Bio 1107 was just a little too much for me, so I strayed into different ways. But yeah, so I worked with MAPS. I was a McNair Scholar doing research for 4 of my 5 years at the university. Loved it, and like one of the people that just said, like, those transferable skills, I was in a chemistry lab, but I was able to understand, like, public speaking, how to have conversations, scientific inquiry. So a lot of those core competencies that we see. So those are a couple of things that I was doing. I'm also a woman of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated through the Nu Theta chapter. So the sorority life, the service life was definitely something that I was involved in as well.
Excellent, thank you. And I'm hope that a lot of students on the call right now just connected with something and will drop into some of your hours some evening soon. Okay, so just going back to this slide for a moment about co-curricular engagement. So just to briefly touch on some of these areas, this is what we were talking about when we introduced holistic admissions in terms of it's not just about the GPA, it's not just about the MCAT, the DAT, but it's also about demonstrating to the schools that you've really explored these professions, you know what they entail, and you're really committed to this pathway. And so great ways to do that include gaining some clinical experience, and usually a logical place to start there is through shadowing, more passive, but this allows you to try out the profession, observe some doctor-patient interactions, see what the role of the physician, the dentist is in the healthcare team, and so on, so on. Maybe try some specialties out too. The flip side of that coin, direct patient care experience, is when you are taking more of an active role. So you either have one-on-one interaction with patients or you're the one administering the healthcare in some form. And so many different avenues to get this. Many students go a formalized training route and maybe become a licensed EMT or CNA, medical assistant, medical scribe, ER tech, patient tech. So many avenues in that realm, but it could be through a form of volunteering as well. If you volunteer regularly at a hospital where you do have that one-on-one interaction, or an elder care facility, a hospice locally. So many different avenues. Many of our applicants also choose to focus on this during 1 or 2 growth years. And so here's a shameless plug for our upcoming Chat with Alumni event focused on growth years. One of the people on our call will be talking about his experience as a medical scribe, which is a very hot area. And I know in many Connecticut hospitals, they're really in desperate need of scribes right now as well. In terms of service, so having a strong service orientation is one of the core competencies for entering medical school students. And Dr. Abbott certainly talks about this for dentals as well, that the dental schools are looking for a very strong service record. And having the strong service orientation is really an indication to them that you're going into this profession out of a genuine desire to serve others from a really altruistic perspective. Whatever you're doing service-wise, whether it's medically related or not, it doesn't matter. Any kind of service is great. So you should pursue something that's really meaningful to you. And so a great place, just for one point of connection, is to check out UConn's community outreach page. They have a wealth of service opportunities, both one-time events, semester-long programs. They do alternative breaks as well. And some of their semester-long programs, they have some healthcare related ones at local hospitals, Collegiate Health Service Corps, and so on. A lot of like education programs too. I think Anthony mentioned he does some after-school tutoring, so they have a lot of programs like that. And virtual tutoring has been a really creative solution that many students have engaged in throughout the pandemic too, to continue their service and build some other transferable skills as well. In terms of research independent scholarship, so this can be very important to certain programs. In demonstrating especially you've developed your scientific inquiry skills. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Sanford actually, and there's a great question in the chat about, in terms of research, does this mean does this mean something I'm interested in, or does it have to be something specific? So how would you answer that question, Dr. Sanford?
I think the main thing to say is schools are interested in curious people for sure. So, getting involved in research, no matter what area it is it's perhaps a goal that you have for your education as an undergraduate. You're in a place where that is very possible as a, research directed institution. So there's plenty of opportunities and you might as well take advantage of it while you're here. In terms of, no matter what that is, if it's, a project related to history, if it's a project related to English, as some of our previous graduates, that's where they concentrated their undergraduate studies focus, and they wanted to have that dedicated capstone kind of research experience as part of their major. That said, I think the schools do like to see some experience in bench or lab research. It's not something you have to devote, a full year to, or 2 years or 3 years to. I think they just like to see that you've engaged in that environment, you have good experience there. And you may have chosen to, dedicate your full research effort in some other area. So, yeah, for those going into the health professions, good idea to try to at least sample some bench lab project experience. Sometimes you can get involved just as a volunteer to, commit some time to a lab to learn what's going on, learn the procedures and the like, and just become familiar with the projects going on there. Sometimes there are paid positions, so you can go in and learn from the experience that way. And many of you perhaps are in a thesis-oriented program where you may have to do research in your major discipline as well as part of your degree. We have a lot of students as well that apply for fellowships at other places during the summer. So you may do kind of a summer internship or externship where you're getting some of this experience, but it's not necessarily tied to your own, degree program at the school. So, bottom line, those going into medicine and other health professional areas, dentistry, it's a good idea to try to get some additional lab bench experience, or to, invest a little bit of time in some clinical, focused project as well. And there are plenty of avenues to do that here. Again, you don't have to make it your major thesis, and having a requirement that you have a publication come out of that. I think schools are interested in just seeing that you're comfortable and confident in that kind of setting and can sort of master the skills required there.
Thank you so much. If you are interested in getting engaged in research in the near future, you should definitely check out the Office of Undergraduate Research, one of our sister units and enrichment programs. Their whole mission is really helping you explore your interests, finding connections, and providing funding opportunities for your interests. And so they're having a really big research exhibition event called Frontiers coming up. I believe it's next week. Please check that out. This is also their month of discovery. And so this is a great chance to connect with some of your fellow UConn peers to find out what kinds of opportunities, what things students are currently doing. They also have very regular getting started in undergraduate research info sessions, which you can find the schedule for right on their website. Okay, before touching on extracurriculars briefly, I think there were a couple other questions in the chat. So someone's asking, what is the best way to reach out to doctors, professors to shadow them? I think Anthony had a great tip earlier about reach out to your own either pediatrician or primary care. At least you have an established connection with them. If you don't have any family friends in healthcare that you might try to navigate through. A lot of specific programs or volunteer opportunities could also lead to some networking. So on this slide, for example, you can see a little promo for a program called UConn Health Leaders. This is a very cool program. We work closely with them based at the health center, and this program gives you experience screening incoming patients for social determinants of health, connecting them with resources. They do other things as well, including contact tracing and so on. But participating in this program opens up some direct doors to networking with the physicians there and hearing from them directly, completing a series of modules as well, taken directly from UConn Med's curriculum. So sometimes it's through your extracurricular engagement that you can make these opportunities. Would anyone have any other advice that they would like to chime in?
Now, a lot of the medical clubs typically have one arm of their operation that's looking into trying to get clinical experiences for members of their clubs and staff. So very often they'll have guest speakers come in and they'll share their information with you, and sometimes we'll invite you to engage and see if you can get some direct shadowing experience with them.
I would also say our chat with alumni. We have some great candidates that come in, and some of them are actually finished, and they also probably can connect you with doctors or physicians that they've connected with too. So, and also HCOP, the Health Career Opportunities Program. It's a program that I did when I was in undergrad, and they always have great opportunities for you to connect with physicians as well.
Thank you all. Speaking of alumni too, so Heather, our advisor Heather, has been working on some really awesome alumni connection projects, including we have a whole new section on our website with some alumni profiles. We also have a system now where our current applicants to medical and dental school can request to be connected with UConn alumni at various medical and dental schools who have volunteered themselves basically to be contacted. So these are some really great engagement opportunities, and more often than not, the alumni happily drop their emails, phone numbers in the chat at the end of these kinds of sessions. So definitely tune into our events. One other question, and I apologize because I don't remember what these experience service hours were referencing. However, this does bring up a good point about students often ask, do I need to be keeping track of these hours as I'm doing them? And that would certainly be a great idea, and it would save you a big headache down the road if you just keep some kind of personal log whenever you go in for a shadowing experience or have direct patient care experience, do service. Your future applications will ask you to note very specific hour time commitments in general. And so just keeping a personal log of that, maybe in Excel even, so that it's really easy to tally up. And then your main contact information, supervising physician or whoever, and then also some just brief notes, observations. That would be a really great idea. So lastly, just to touch on extracurriculars, we did reference there are many student orgs on campus. I think you're aware of that if you tuned into the involvement fair last month. We also have cultivated our own list of a lot of the healthcare related organizations on campus. And so we do have that list right on our website as well. You can check out if you are hoping to become engaged. There are some more bigger general organizations as well as really niche areas too, if you have a specific interest in medicine. And so you can also check those out by using the filters on UContact. Okay. Okay, and before hitting core competencies, I see one other question about being a pharmacy tech. Yes, I think as you reference, unfortunately, every school views being a pharmacy tech slightly differently in terms of whether that qualifies as direct patient care experience. Our tendency is to, probably say, yes, this is an incredibly valuable experience, and we can certainly talk about it in terms of many skills. It is going to come down to the individual programs, though, whether they would qualify that as direct patient care experience. It also partly depends on your specific position, because different pharm techs at different places will be entrusted to do different kinds of things. So anyone, Dr. Sanford, do you want to chime in too?
Yeah, it's an incredibly valuable experience. You do get a lot of experience talking with patients about medications, what they're for, having your eye out for any that may counter other medications they're on, and just patient education. It is a tremendous sort of experience. So you do get a lot of dialogue with patients, and you're doing a lot of referrals with physicians, with other pharmacies too. So yeah, we would characterize it as a good experience for sure, invaluable. I think schools like to see that you have also worked directly with a physician or a dentist in doing some shadowing and observation. It's just that, they bring to that encounter with a patient a much broader scope of responsibilities. And I think schools just like to see that you have a fuller appreciation of the role of the physician.
We are now in the home stretch, so hang tight with us. Yes, and thank you so much, Anthony, for joining us today. Okay, so we did want to just formally introduce the core competencies. We've referenced these guys a few times, but the AAMC does have their own list of 15 core competency areas. You can think of them like the transferable skills. I'm sure you've heard that term before, that they really value successful medical school students embodying. And so they encompass everything from having that strong service orientation to demonstrating you have teamwork skills, intercultural competence, critical thinking, and so on. So these are always a great thing to visit periodically, reflect on them, and how your experiences both in and out of the classroom can embody these areas. And you can also check out real life examples from students who have applied to medical and dental school. So these links will be available afterwards. We will also work with you just prior to your time to apply to help you articulate your strengths in terms of these competencies. That is a really big focus of our applicant support process. So some major takeaways for today. Pursue your passions. I don't think we can say this enough. And as Dr. Sanford mentioned earlier, one of our favorite quotes around here are that health professional schools are interested in interesting people. They want to know what about you is unique, what is going to contribute towards a diverse class of students at their program, what do you have to offer as well? And so, also just really reflect, consider what do you want to get out of your undergraduate education? What are some things that if looking back a few years down the road that you didn't get to try out or you didn't get to do, what might you regret? study abroad maybe it has nothing to do with your medical studies, but if this is just something you want to get out of your undergraduate education, absolutely pursue that. And then we can even talk about that experience again in terms of the competencies and what you've developed from that and how you've grown. The last quote is spoken to me by a pre-med a few weeks ago who was just getting a little bit tired about talking about nothing but grades and so on as a pre-med student. And she just wanted to say to certain people, don't have such an Orgo personality. And so full apologies to anyone for whom Orgo is your passion as a person. But it's just kind of an example of, really think outside the box, do things because you want to do them. Not because they're expected of you. And I feel like every time we have an alumni event, including last week, our alumni do not talk ahead of time, but they always have the same message too about, oh, I wish I had done this as an undergrad because I just really wanted to. One of my classmates was an operatic singer as an undergrad. This was from last week, and it just made me realize, I wish I pursued my passion for singing a bit more too. And so we just really want you to focus on things that are meaningful to you. It is ultimately quality over quantity as well. So we talk about this idea that it's much better to be engaged in even a couple activities, but things that you're really dedicated to on a regular basis and over an extended time, because that just indicates the depth of experience. And so, med schools, dent schools are pretty savvy about figuring out if someone is putting many experiences on their application, but things that maybe you had only done once or twice per year, that just doesn't have the same meaning of experience attached to it. And this little picture on the slide here, this is a group called Knit for NICU. Perhaps some of you are part of it. That was formed by a group of 4 pre-meds a few years ago. They have all just graduated this year, actually, and they decided, hey, we want to combine our love for knitting and crocheting with our love for medicine and service with hospitals. So we're going to form this club and we're going to knit little beanies and blankets and toys for premature babies and drop them off. And so this club has greatly grown. I actually just met with the officers this morning. They have about 100 active members currently, which is awesome. And it's just a really informal, chill place to do some arts and crafts and hang out and also make donations. So certainly if UConn does not currently offer something that you're passionate about, you could just create it on your own. We did just want to put on your radar, speaking of applicants and working with applicants, this is not, a priority for any freshmen or sophomores on the call today, but we do have a comprehensive applicant support process, and that includes a series of workshops every spring semester listed on this screen that are really geared towards different elements of the application process. So the biggest event, probably our biggest event of the year, in fact, is called the Application Orientation. And so this is a session just designed to orient you to all aspects of the application process for medical dental school. So this upcoming January, we will hold the 2023 cycle application orientation. Application cycles, by the way, are named based on when you hope to matriculate to medical or dental school. This always causes a little bit of confusion. So just think about when you hope to matriculate. That is the name of your cycle, which means, however, that you would be applying to that school the previous summer. So 2023 cycle applicants who hope to begin med or dent school in fall 2023, they're going to be applying in the summer of 2022. Okay, so that's where it gets a little bit confusing. However, we do have this series of workshops targeting different aspects of that application process, as well as an applicant support process, whereby you would submit an applicant portfolio, which is really designed to be a test run for some of the questions you're going to see on your primary and secondary applications. And then a couple of our advisors in our office will read your responses ahead of time and have a 45-minute applicant coaching session with you to discuss really detailed aspects of your candidacy, maybe talk about how you might frame certain experiences or articulate them. Also, just give our 2 cents about what we feel are your really unique strengths as an applicant and things that you should really highlight and emphasize, and then to answer any other specific questions you have. So this process is largely what our office is focused on, pretty much the start of the spring semester right through the end of the summer, into September. In fact, we are still currently working with a few 2022 cycle applicants as well. At the same time, throughout the portfolios and coaching sessions, we also will collect your individual letters of rec in a centralized location and then combine those into a letter packet for you. That way we're able to screen them for formatting and that kind of thing. And we also draft a personalized cover letter, which really just highlights your unique strengths as an applicant. Okay, so that's just to put it on your radar, just to let you know they exist. For right now though, definitely focus on exploration is kind of the big idea. Do well in your courses, seek out resources if necessary. And some of those resources, by the way, we do have a ton of information on our website. Some of the more general national ones are listed on the screen here. So explorehealthcareers.org is a great resource too. And then the individual professional associations do have a lot of great stuff on their websites too. At UConn, I would highlight a couple. So CCD, we work with them for a lot of our interviewing workshops and interviewing prep. They also offer things like walk-in resume critique if you don't have a resume yet. They will help you locate, secure different internship opportunities, and they do offer formal mock interviews as well. They do personal statement review even. Similarly, Center for Students with Disabilities, if you would benefit from any kind of accommodation in the classroom, they're a great resource to reach out to that. And, we also talk about things like you can request accommodations on the MCAT or DAT as well down the road. The Q Center, W Center offers tutoring. So if you find that you just want a little extra help, for some of your especially introductory level STEM courses and your writing courses, your W intensive courses, these are great places in the library to check out. And finally, the Academic Achievement Center offers a ton of peer counseling kinds of programs, peer mentoring, as well as coaching for things like test taking strategies, time management, what is the best way to structure your schedule, and so on. With that, I would also invite Paris, if you're still on, would you like to highlight any other resources on off-campus that you would like to share?
So I think I would just also talk about the cultural centers. So the African American Cultural Center, PERLAC, ASAC, the Rainbow Center, the Women's Center. So those resources can also help us in our, I don't know if I went out, but that can also help you, like, mentally and emotionally. We also have the center. I think they kind of changed the name, but the counseling center, because pre-med can be rough, it can be tough, but we also want to make sure that you are taking care of your mental health as well. And I guess that's my counselor spiel.
No, thank you. That's exactly what I was hoping you'd do. There's even the weekly dog therapy on campus, so make sure you tune in. And speaking of dogs, this is my lovely Lexi. I caught this pretty epic photo that I just wanted to share with everyone. So I do hope that if you are in the middle of midterms right now, that you are taking care of yourself, both mentally, physically, doing some things that you also enjoy to bounce yourself. We thank you so much for tuning in today and this evening on a Thursday. Hopefully you have smooth sailing into the weekend. I can stick around for a few moments if anyone has any additional questions in the chat, but I would just invite any of our other advisors on the call, if you want to say any closing remarks, to please do so.
I would just say thank you, everybody, for being here. And please don't hesitate to drop into our office on Thursday afternoons when we're here, or to schedule an appointment. Even if you just want to brainstorm or talk about some ideas you have, you don't have to have a big life-changing question to stop by. Just make yourself a presence in our office so we get to know you and we can help you through your journey.